Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got some breaking news coming out from Iran to share with you. So we're going to talk some more about these ballistic missiles that Iran was supposedly going to be sending to Russia. I've got an update today that Iran has transferred over 200 ballistic missiles to Russia for use in the war against Ukraine. Now, I've got this report on the Times, and they literally are coming out saying, yes, that 200 ballistic missiles or more have already been shipped to Russia. Russia apparently already has these, and we may start seeing these ballistic missiles flying into Ukraine soon. This is a picture on the screen inside of Iran. These are the FAT 360 tactical ballistic missile systems, very similar to HIMARS that Ukraine is currently using. And if anything, they're probably a little bit better, but we'll have to see if Russia starts using these. And Ukraine appears to be very worried about this. There's lots of reports coming out online. They're extremely worried about Russia using these inside of Ukraine, that it may change the tide of the war, and we may start seeing a lot of targets that were not previously being hit, now being targeted. Okay, so this is very, very big news, and Ukraine's coming out and warning Iran of severe consequences due to this transfer of these weapons. So I want to jump over to this article and share this information with you guys. So this is on the Times. Iran sends more than 200 ballistic missiles to Russia. Tehran's support for Moscow war escalates with shipment of weapons that could be used to target several cities in Ukraine. And it says down here, Russia's received a shipment of more than 200 ballistic missiles from Iran in a significant escalation in Tehran's support for Moscow's war against Ukraine. Intelligence seen by Ukrainians points to a delivery of FAT 360 missiles which can reach targets up to 70 miles away. A Russian ship delivered the missiles to an undisclosed port in the Caspian Sea on Wednesday, a Ukrainian military source said. Now, we don't know if other types of ballistic missiles have been sent as well, aside from the FAT 360 systems. Would not surprise me if they were sending other types also. And it says here the source described the weapons as a game changer for the Russians because they would enhance Moscow's ability to hit Ukrainian towns and cities from greater distances. These sources said it further illustrated the need for Ukraine to be able to fire long-range Western weapons such as UK-made Storm Shadow missiles at key targets inside Russia. So regarding this is something that I mentioned to you guys before. I think what this is going to do is put more pressure on the West, primarily the United States, to start lifting these restrictions for Ukraine to start striking targets inside Russian territory. And I would not be surprised if Russia starts using these FAT 360 systems or any tactical ballistic missiles being sent to Russia right now from Iran, and they start launching these into Ukraine, that Ukraine starts becoming devastated by these attacks. And I would not be surprised at all if we start to see Western officials lifting these restrictions for Ukraine to strike inside of Russian territory. Western officials had previously seen intelligence pointing to a deal between the two nations for the delivery of the weapons. NATO countries had warned Iran against sending ballistic missiles to Russia. We call on Iran to stop assisting Russia's war in Ukraine and not to transfer ballistic missiles and related technology, as this would represent a substantive material escalation and direct threat to European security, the G7 said in mid-June. Iran is expected to continue the flow of weapons to Russia despite the risk of further Western sanctions. A Ukrainian defense source said if civilians in Ukraine die from these missiles, then Iran will pay a double price for that. The response will be severe. Look at that, guys. The response will be severe. The source did not elaborate on the nature of that response. Now, what would Ukraine do to respond to these attacks? I mean, I have no idea. Would they declare war on Iran now, or what's going on here? I mean, obviously, Ukraine is receiving Western weapons that are being used in this war, and then people would say, well, it's kind of a double standard. Why can Iran and North Korea, for example, not supply weapons to the Russians? Now, it's very interesting because it appears that the West is okay with North Korean ballistic missiles going to Russia and then them firing it into Ukraine. But for some reason, when it's Iran doing this, it's not okay. So we already know, I reported to you guys yesterday that the West, European officials are already starting to prepare sanctions on Iran for supposedly transferring these over to Russia. So this is just a very crazy and strange story to have to report. But it says here, Farzin Nadimi, A senior fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy said this could have a real impact on the battlefield in the eastern Donbass. These are tactical missiles with a range of up to 120 kilometers, so they are going to be mostly used tactically, but the Russians can still use them to attack cities like Kharkiv and Sumy and the Ukrainian army's rear areas in the Donbass and Dnipro. He said his main concern was the missiles could pave the way for the delivery of longer range versions of the weapons that can travel more than 500 kilometers. These would pack a real punch and could hit targets further in western Ukraine. Now, this is the part that I don't understand too, is that western Ukraine is already coming under attack by Russian missiles. So I don't know, maybe I'm not understanding this right, but I don't see why having a Iranian missile flying into Ukraine is any different than a Russian missile. But apparently that appears to be the concern here with Ukraine, and Ukraine is definitely concerned about these missiles going to Russia and then them landing all over Ukraine. Clearly, not just near the front line on the eastern front, but also in western Ukraine as well. Let's say in Lviv, which just came under attack recently by Russian missiles. So also, Britain wants to allow Ukraine to use its Storm Shadow missiles to fire at targets inside Russia, but the U.S. is blocking that for the fear of escalating the conflict. Storm Shadow missiles have a range of more than 150 miles, so could be used to hit airfields deeper inside Russian territory. The Ukrainian source said the Russians would be shown how to use the missiles by Iranian instructors at a training facility near Ashaluk. Okay, so looks like for sure Russia now has these missiles, at least the bare minimum, the FAT 360 system, which I've been talking to you guys about. These tactical ballistic missiles that have a range of, I believe, up to around 100 kilometers that they can extend up to, and potentially, if they get these longer range missiles, as it's stating here, maybe up to 500 kilometers at some point, which would allow Russia to target western Ukraine as well. So definitely a major concern for Ukraine. And I think it's very interesting that they're coming out and making these major threats towards Iran. And it makes you wonder, what would their response be if we start seeing these being used? And it would not surprise me at all that very soon we start seeing these being used in this war with Ukraine and Russia. So let me know down below. Do you guys think that these missiles will make a major change in the war? Will it help Russia out a lot? Will it not? Obviously Ukraine's got HIMARS, so they've got somewhat of a counter. I'm sure they would probably try to target as many of these systems as they can and destroy them, just like they've been doing with lots of other Russian equipment right now. But definitely something that I want to note here is that I've been talking a lot about the Hungarian Prime Minister. I've mentioned him multiple times in the past, where he came out and said that this war between Russia and Ukraine was going to get very brutal in the coming months. And this was just like a month or a month and a half ago where we reported that. And we're starting to see that now. It definitely is getting more brutal. And we're starting to see things like this, like crazy weaponry being deployed, more countries getting involved, sending weaponry. Then there's this whole talk about the West lifting restrictions to go after airfields inside of Russia. So this war could definitely spiral and get out of control very quickly soon, considering all these different details. So let me know what you think down below in regards to this. That's going to be it for this update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell, that way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope y'all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.